I didn't even make the freaking thumbnail yet. No, who cares? Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not welcome to the review for season 9, episode 12 of The Flash, the second to last episode, penultimate episode, if you will, of The Flash, second to last ever episode of The Flash. Eric Wallace, we don't need all this filler. You are literally taking away from the story every time you go to do filler in this episode. Why? That's a complaint. Another complaint is, CW, can you stop with the commercials of urinary incontinence and bowel movements when I'm trying to eat my dinner? Please? And it's double this time. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, it was part 2 of this. Part 1 of this, part 1 of this. They aired a commercial for urinary incontinence. Last week, they did a commercial for bowel movements. And tonight, during the break where, it's, you have the one show Divorce Court, and then you have a break of commercials, and then the Flash starts, right? During that break, as I was finishing up making my dinner, which was tacos, by the way, they are both commercials. First the bowel movement one, then the urinary incontinence. I'm like, come on, don't need to hear that. And why is that? Because for some reason, Warner Brothers Discovery seems to think that only older people in their 40s to 50s watch stuff. That's why a lot of the shows are getting canceled, because they think it's all, we need to do more reality TV stuff. We need to do all this stuff for people who are in their 40s and 50s. And then you get commercials. People have urinary incontinent, bowel movements. Look. You're idiots. Most of these shows that you aired were like for teens, right? Teen drama stuff. You got Riverdale. The Vampire Diaries was a thing. Supernatural. All that stuff. The Flash. Teens. But they think old people. I don't know. If I was to live inside of a mind of an idiot, shut up. I'm not an idiot. Anyway, so the episode of The Flash, it was okay. As a build up to the final episode, I think it did its job. Just I was hoping for better, especially when you end the episode last week with Barry disappearing. Obviously, he's going to 2049. We see in the trailer, he ends up in 2049. Doesn't show up in 2049 till halfway through the episode. Why? Because we gotta focus on Cecile, of course. Because that's why you watch the show. Look, I don't hate the side characters like everybody else does. Last week, people just hate bombed the show because nobody wants to watch the side characters. Well, then you're missing the point. If you know the Cobalt Blue story from the comics, you know that, and even say it in this episode, the Crystal is attacking Barry's family in the past, the present, and the future. That's the point. So, they're not complaining, this show's called The Flash, not everybody else. Well, you know what? Every show is main character and side characters. Every show has that. Deal with it or stop watching the show. Although, with only one episode left out of this, I would just say finish watching it, But, to the point, I do think that, and I've said this before, Eric Wallace has a big problem with filler. He can't do it right. His filler stuff sucks. Not only his filler episodes, except for episode 10 or episode 9 this season, that was a good one. I'll give you that one. That was a good one. But his filler episodes have been lackluster since taking over, and part of that is because of his insistence on the graphic novel format. But in this case, we are in the final arc. This final arc should be hitting all the bases like this. When you stop so that we could do a story about Cecile feeling like she abandoned Joe and Jenna, now, one episode before the finale? No. Why didn't you cover that in a filler episode instead of sticking here one episode before the damn finale? And the whole thing is that she can project herself to the future to see if that's where Barry is, into her future self. She does that, and then run away. She finds out that she only sees them like twice a year, and that makes her freak out, go back to the past, and then we have an extended period of time where Chester has to go talk to her. By the way, Eric Wallace, you know, when you go to the future, you have to have your characters, get older. The only thing you do is put a bad wig on Iris to make her look older. I mean, I think maybe they did something with Allegra, but Chester and everyone else looks the same. Even to the point where Cecile looks in the mirror and goes, "Damn, it still look good." And I'm like, it's because they didn't age you. I mean, come on. They did this last year with Armageddon, where they were 10 years in the future. It didn't age a day. I mean, this is not the X-Men film series where you can go through 40 years and still look the same. Look at the 60s, the 70s, 80s, and the 90s. That's 40 years. Yeah, they were in the 60s in First Class. In the 70s, Days of Future Past. 80s in Apocalypse. And 90s in Dark Phoenix. And age a day. Now, Mystique, I can see because she can change her form. But when you look like Michael Fassbender in 1993... and 70 years later, you're supposed to look like Ian McKellen from the year 2000. Same thing with 40-year-old James McAvoy in 1993. And you're looking like 70 or 60-year-old... okay, well, no, 50 maybe. Year-old Jean-Luc Picard. I can't remember his name. Patrick Stewart in the year 2000. Come on. They didn't age much of anything, except for Iris' terrible wig. The Crystal takes over Nora, which I didn't particularly care for, but I see why they're doing it. Took over Joe in the past, took over Chillblaine in the present, and Flash wasn't even there. He was just there to mess with the rest of his loved ones. And then it took over... Nora here. One thing that is kind of confusing is they make it last week that both things of last week's episode and one before the events were happening at the same time. So I don't know, because he comes back to the present after the events of that, and it kind of coincides with each other. Like Iris is talking, like she's talking to Barry, and that helps him get all lightened up in the episode previously. It makes it look like when he's does that thing to Joe. So yeah, I kind of got out of order anyway. But Korber gets sucked in by a singularity because we're going back to that. Right, Korber. Who's Korber? Well, she is. I mentioned. So, the captain in 2049 is Korber. I forgot her name, but she is the cop that's been showing up the last couple of seasons. Korber. She's the captain in 2049, or was. She's gone now through a singularity. But, yeah, so Eddie, he is Eddie now. He's not Malcolm. He is Eddie, definitively. We found that out. He's Eddie Thawne, and he goes to Star Labs. And the Flash is not there because he is in space, which was actually mentioned in a deleted scene from Season 8 that wasn't used. And they also had some other things that were deleted, such as Cisco was supposed to be training Tinya, and that had to be dropped because they were supposed to follow up the comic book that they did, the Earth Prime comic book series, continuing it in The Flash. And the best we got was episode 9. But there's no mention to the stuff going on. Tinya's not there. She's not being trained by Cisco. There's nothing. So there's really no continuation other than the blood work got out. That's it. And so, yeah. Also, we're never going to find out who hacked Chester's computer because that was also something had to be scrapped when they got 13 episodes. So if you were wondering how they're going to continue the Prime comic, well, episode 9 is the best you get. If you're wondering who hacked his computer, who cares? Anyway, we're not going to find out anyway. Anyway, so Eddie goes to Star Labs and immediately meets Nora, right? But he sees a version of Nora with blonde hair. It's supposed to be his daughter. Look, I'm not sure how genetic works, but Eddie and Iris are not going to make a child that looks just like Nora with blonde hair. That's not how it works. Okay? If I married an African American woman and we had a son, William's not going to look like a ginger. It's not going to look like a mixed version of William because it takes both people to create him, okay? My son William looks like a combination of myself and my ex. At times he can look like me, other times he can look like my ex. That's how it works. The child of Eddie and Iris is not going to look like Nora with a blonde wig, okay? It's not going to, no. Okay, I understand that things were cheap, you didn't have time to hire another actress, but that's not how it would work. It's just, maybe roll my eyes up. I'm like, why? Why? I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's confusing as hell. I don't know. But yeah, he gets tempted, but real Nora saves him. We get another appearance from Speed Force Nora in 2023. They go back and forth, telling them, negative forces are fighting me and failing, and she disappears, whatever. That's once the steel goes to the future, and we get a scene where she finds out she only sees Joe and Jenna every 2 weeks, and two times a year, 2 times a year, and she freaks out, and it has to be, I almost said Cisco. I've been watching the old seasons, it's always, I don't know, Chester P that talks to her, and yeah, waste of time with the old Cecile thing. If they're going to do something like this, do it earlier in the season, not doing one of your stupid ass filler episodes, not in the second to last episode. And I think the biggest thing people are going to be complaining about is that we didn't get to see Eddie in the suit, the cobalt blue suit. We did not get to see him in the suit this episode, and it makes me frustrated that they made this suit just for one episode. In my opinion, they should have just had him come back as Cobalt Blue and explain it throughout. Have him doing this stuff and reveal he was already Cobalt Blue. And then explain what happened and how he became just through it all. Have him be manipulating stuff. You know, have him already be Cobalt Blue and explain what happened. Because, you know, that thing. I don't know. Like, you have 4 parts to tell a story, and you just take too long to tell the story. He should have been Cobalt Blue. If you're not going to do it in the first episode, by the end of episode 2, he puts the suit on, and then he's Cobalt Blue. For all intents and purposes, this is a 4-part story, and it's working like that. But we should have the last 2 parts of him in the suit, and they should be fighting him by now. I think one of the biggest problems with these graphic novel formats is that we don't get enough fighting of the bad guys shit. Like, when you have a full season telling a story, especially I've been going back, we're in the middle of season 2 now, my son and I. And there is constantly, you're fighting enemies. I've noticed there is some filler episodes, but they don't feel like it. Because there's still some sort of connection with Zoom. We're talking about Zoom, we're talking about the big bad, that sort of thing. But when you have just the fillers, it's nonsense, no connection. But here, when you have the graphic novel format, you're spending all the time building up to the villain. And then it's one little, at the end. Like, take for instance, Bloodwork was good. I'll tell you that. Bloodwork was good, building him up, but he had a presence throughout his arc. Red Death, well, not handled very well, had a decent presence throughout her arc, but still, by the time the Flash fought her, it was like boom, 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 over. And here, you're building up Eddie as this final villain in the arc, and we're gonna have one episode. And guarantee, because that's the way all finales happen, it's like half the episode, and then the rest is wrap up. And if you're gonna do that, why not have the first two as build up, and then episode 3 mostly fighting, and then have your finishing battle at the first half of the finale of the last episode, and then your wrap up, because that's been a big problem for finales the last few seasons. Is it's battle for half the episode, the rest is wrap up, and that's been a problem that's probably still going to be happening, because for some reason they can't give us a whole battle. And then I was thinking this is going to be a 4-part story. Give us something. But what do you give us? Filler. Bullshit. This stuff with Cecile should have been handled earlier on in the season. Okay? It should have been handled then. Not now. Not one episode before the finale, where you could have spent time. And instead, you're jumping between different things, and you're following up the Flash, which we want to see, and you're cutting away to bullshit with Cecile. We want to see Flash. We want to see him dealing with Cobalt Blue. You're dealing with Eddie's trauma. What's going on? Oh, let's check on Cecile. No, we don't want to see that, okay? And Cecile comes to save the day. She does. She comes to save the day. She helps out Barry. She gets rid of the crystal in Nora, but then the crystal goes to Eddie. And it's basically what if you thought of how it could corrupt him, you're probably right. Okay? He sees that, he's at the Flash Museum. He says that the Reverse Flash kept coming back, which honestly, I don't know if they were planning on that, but if they had been, it works for this. Like, he keeps coming back, and so he feels like he failed. And then he killed himself for nothing. And he sees the life that Barry has with Iris in 24/9, and he wants that. With the kid that looks like Nora with a wig, but it makes no sense. Anyway, it's tempting him into taking the crystal. I just hope, I guess not now, but I wanted some explanation as to what the crystal is. And I don't think we need it, but I don't think we can have that now that we only have one episode left. There's no time to do it. There's no time to explain where the crystal came from. It's just, we don't know what it is, where the crystal came from. And if you had made the entire season based around it, instead of doing your stupid graphic novel bullshit, we probably could have had that time, But no. And again, or if you've done half and half, like I suggested before. Half of it is Red Death, the other half is Cobalt Blue. A couple episodes in the middle, maybe. 1 or 2 episodes in the middle, that just kind of in the middle. And you could have done that. You could have more time to explore stuff. And you could have done your build-up with also having 2 episodes of an epic battle. But, yeah. Any way you look at it now, it's going to feel rushed. Because you had 4 episodes, and most of it was hemming and hawing around. First episode was good. This should have been combined with last episode, and then we should have had some kind of battle here. I don't know. I just don't know. But, yeah, I don't know. Eventually, Eddie does accept it, but of course, we don't see the suit because we gotta say that for the finale, which, again, is just out of... Why make a suit if you're only gonna show him in it once? He should have already been Cobalt Blue by this point. Why didn't... why isn't he the villain for the entire season at least? I mean, come on. I don't know. And I don't know. I'm stretching into season territory. We'll get to it. I feel like this arc so far has been better than Red Death. Albeit there's more investment in this because of we actually know about this character, but still, I don't know. Yeah, this episode was fine. I just felt like we didn't need the Cecile parts here. You could have put it in a filler episode. I keep repeating myself. Rick Cosnet was really good. There's scenes, but he's half good. Sometimes when he's trying to be evil, he just comes across like this, and it sounds really weird. I don't know. He's trying like John. That sounds like John Lovitz, but anyway. Hello, I'm Cobalt Blue. No, John Lovitz is Cobalt Blue. But anyway, yeah, it was fine. It was fine. Can't wait for the finale next week. Just so you know, I'm still gonna do the review. I'm gonna bring my tripod, but I won't be here. I'll be at my folks' house because I gotta watch the dog. So I'll probably be in the basement. But I will do the finale review. It's fallen on a day that I just... it's fallen on... Yeah, when they asked me to watch the dog and they pointed out which days it was, I'm like... Finale day. But... I will still do the review. It's just not going to be here. I'll probably wear one of those shirts. Just so I keep that with it. But anyway, so what are your thoughts on this episode? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Scotty. Oh, by the way, at the end, they play a cover of That's Why They Call It the Blues by Elton John. It's a cover of it. So why wasn't this episode called The Blues? That's what it was called. Last week's episode was subtitled The Blues. This one changes. Shh. If you're going to have that episode at the end, why not have the episode called The Blues? And are they going to explain? I hope they explain why they keep showing blue flowers. I don't understand what that's supposed to mean, but okay. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.